Starting now. Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Birchal's Q&A webinar with Benzina Zero. And before I introduce our founders today, I just wanted to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we are zooming to you from, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome our founders today, Ben Silver and Joe Birchal from Benzina Zero.
Hey, how are
Hi,
you?
guys.
I'm Ben, this is Joe.
Benzina Zero is transforming electric mobility in Australia and overseas for consumers and businesses. And we have our expression of interest campaign running at the moment for Benzina Zero on our Birchal platform. And they go live with their live offer next week at midday on Tuesday, the 24th of June. That's right. And we're going to hear all about your business. Thanks for joining us today, Ben and Joe. Over to you.
Very good, thank you. Look, we're just running through a little bit of a technical. I've just had a technical glitch where you probably can see us okay, because at the moment we can't see anyone else. Can you see us okay, Mel?
Yep, see it really well.
Can you see? So what I've had happen is I can't switch. Have you got my screen sharing?
I can only see you two at the moment.
Cool. Just give me 1 second. I've just had a little bit of an issue with my my screen sharing again after I just thought I had it sorted. So I do apologise for that. Here we are. We're back in webinar. Here we go. You can see us. Okay. So like I said, I'm Ben from Benzina Zero, co-founder and co-CEO of Benzina Zero, and Joe is also co-founder and co-CEO of Benzina Zero. Now we're going to just go into. We're just going to work into our little pitch deck that we've put together here, and we'll go into a bit more detail around that. So if you just bear with me a moment. This is the issue that I had before. I wasn't sharing screen. And I'm hoping that it will actually give me the full screen, which it hasn't done before. So just bear with me a second. Sorry, I apologise. Okay, there we go. You can see that?
That's all good.
Lovely. Thank you very much for your patience. So look, we're Benzina Zero. We will run through what we do and how we do it in a bit more detail, obviously through this conversation. We want to take you sort of from where we started to where we're going to, and obviously we're inviting you as potential investors to come on that journey with us. And I think it's important that, you know, when we talk about mobility, you know, in e-mobility, what we're doing is quite unique, both here in Australia, but also around the world. So we'll dive into our first slide. So a little bit about us. We have been going in Benzina Zero essentially since 2019 when we incorporated our first company. But Joe and I have known each other for a lot longer before that. And sometimes it's good to, obviously, as we look forward, we've got to look back at where we started. In 1998, Joe started his first standalone retail shop for petrol motor scooters here in Brisbane, and I joined him along on that journey. At the peak of that business, Joe had three shops, and we sold somewhere just short of 20,000 petrol mopeds and motor scooters into Southeast Queensland, fundamentally changing how people moved. As we transitioned away from being retailers of petrol product, we wanted to establish our own brand, which obviously was Benzina Zero. And we knew that the shift to electric was going to be a massive piece of the puzzle moving forward. Obviously, we work across retail business, retail customers and retail touch points, but we also have a very strong base when it comes to business applications, which we'll learn about it in a bit more detail. So let's have a look at what the problem is at the moment when it comes to mobility and especially cities. So there's three key things that what we've identified. Now, the big thing is obviously the movement of people and goods. So obviously through COVID, we saw a huge uptake when it came to last mile delivery requirements, people ordering online and getting things delivered rapidly. There's also other businesses that are food-based or quick service restaurants that require their hot food to be delivered in a timely fashion. But the other thing is people need the capacity to move about their cities with relative ease. Now, one of the big things when it comes to the cities even if we displace a petrol car with an electric car, we haven't fundamentally fixed one of the biggest challenges of urban environments, which is congestion. And that only is happening when we actually get to downsize our vehicles for delivery and also our own personal needs. The other thing is electric mobility doesn't have to come at huge expense. So our kind of product type is much more available to a lot of different customers and use cases purely because of the cost benefits compared to a larger EV. And the other thing is we need to have mobility that doesn't harm the environment. And that comes down to the fact that we obviously do not generate tailpipe emissions. Our vehicles can be recharged from renewable sources. But the other thing that happens with our product type and electric product types is that we have the capacity to have much more beneficial manufacturing efficiency. We actually don't need to have multiple pieces when it comes to producing a vehicle. We'll talk about that in a bit more detail. So the solution. Now, we transcend three product type or product categories from e-bike, e-scooter to road vehicle, but fundamentally the benefits are across all types. So we've seen manufacturing efficiency, like I said before, instead of a petrol scooter, which might need somewhere around 700 unique pieces to manufacture, our bike will take around 100 or uses 100. So it's a lot less complicated from a manufacturing and engineering perspective. By going to electric propulsion, we have much simpler and more efficient drivetrains. Obviously, the benefit is that we don't produce tailpipe emissions. We do not emit noise pollution as well. With having less moving parts and less complication from an engineering perspective, the vehicles are much more cost effective to run and substantially easier and more cost effective to maintain. There's obviously no engine, no waste oils. And also with the battery types that we have, by having a smaller battery and by still having decent ranges, which we'll get into more detail, we can have less inputs when it comes to rare earths and critical minerals. When it comes to micromobility, and obviously if you look at some of our corporate alignments, you'll see that all of our delivery comes from like a back-to-base delivery system. And that means if we people use our product to deliver pizzas, they go out and then come back. So I've always got the capacity to be able to recharge. And the other thing is obviously small EVs or small vehicles like what we have has a dramatic improvement when it comes to parking requirements and congestion within our cities. When it comes to the market size, obviously we're going to talk about what we are looking towards when it comes to the global footprint, and we've actually broken this slide here into two different pieces. So one is the global electric scooter and motorcycle market. Now, as it stands today, it is on track, and with estimates to achieve $93.9 billion US by 2032. That's at a compound annual growth rate of 10.2%. Now, e-bikes, that's growing a bit quicker at 14.6%, once again, with an estimated market size of $148.7 billion US by 132. By some metrics, you know, the electrification transition is certainly well underway, but we're still at the early stages. So we're only going to see these markets grow quicker and quicker. Okay, I might hand over here to Joe to just run through some of our fleet alignments and some of the exciting things that we have moving forward.
Yes, well, probably as Ben has already gone into a little bit, we've taken a long time to actually develop a lot of products for our B2B customers. They have, over the past, also used their own products and tried to bring in their own products, and a lot of them did not work. So because of our background and because of the time and effort that we'd spent in the industry, we were able to develop a lot of product to make sure that the product actually is fit for use, fit for purpose, is of quality, and is not too expensive. So our product, as more and more customers, both B2C and B2B customers, use the product, the reputation of the product speaks for itself. So we have corporate alignments with Domino's. And we are fully certified for 3 of our products now, and that being the Duo, the robust Duo, the little micro V50, which is the smallest micro delivery vehicle on the market globally. The hauler e-bike, which took about 2 years to develop that actual bike. And feedback thus far from people who used to use the old delivery bike, that it's 100% better bike. And we will continue to improve the product as we move forward, and always looking for new products to develop and try and fill little gaps in the market where it's needed. Pizza Hut, Flynn Group, or Young Foods, they have the same problems as other corporates like Domino's. So they are also purchasing basically the same product, obviously in their own CI, which is red bikes and their corporate images. And then mail contractors, again, there currently is probably around 5,000 mail contractors. It's hard to estimate the exact number, but we've been able to ascertain there's about 5,000 contractors in the marketplace, and they continue to grow every week, purchasing the bike. And some of the feedback that we're having now is, compared to the old Honda petrol or ice bike that they were using, that they'll never go back to anything else. Plus, just from a licensing requirement, our little moped, in some states where mopeds can be ridden on a car license, it's also made it easier for the contractors to find staff to ride the mopeds, and is a lot easier to use. The dogs have stopped barking at them, so because they can't hear the bikes coming up, so they're happy. Being global, look, I might hand this one back to Ben actually, because there's quite a bit in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're a long way down the road. It's taken a little bit longer for the Being Global partnership to move forward. Just this week, we've had some pretty exciting stuff happen, so I'll hand it back to Ben.
Cool. So Being Global is a US listed business, and they provide, and you can see from the images there, they provide a solar array. This is a fully grid independent portable solar system which can harness and store electric energy. And essentially that EV ARC platform they use is then able to be deployed into different use cases. They originally started with car charging, car parks and stuff like that, but we're actually working with them across three different product opportunities. The one that we're speaking here about most is Being Well, and you can see a little picture there at the top with the 4 mopeds, the solar array. There's also a desalination plant and a water tank. We'll dig into Being Well first, because this is quite topical and quite interesting. The Being Well sort of came about because Being Global had been tapped on the shoulder and said, look, there's a whole bunch of areas around the world that are going through either humanitarian crises, or they're going through a disaster, which could be either climatic or a civil unrest. And these people who haven't got access to clean water, they haven't got access to power. So essentially, they developed this solar charging system which could generate fresh water from salty water sources by converting that, or by desalinating it and making it fresh. The problem is that you can create all this energy, you can create this water, but the problem is you can't move it, and that's where we come in. So we're the mobility partner, and each one of these Being Well products will have 4 Benzina Zero Duos as part of the system. Now, in exciting news, the first one is actually sitting in Jordan as we speak. It's actually sitting in Jordan, waiting for the final approvals to be inserted into Gaza. Now, when it comes to that process, as you can imagine, there's some tensions happening around the world at the moment, which is probably preventing that last piece of the puzzle. But the reality is the hardware is literally sitting on the doorstep waiting to go in. We're incredibly excited by what the opportunity will be for this, and obviously we've had speculative numbers, but we won't get into that now. The other thing is, because this is a modular system, Being Global are using or creating another product, which you can see below, which has a series of our hauler e-bikes. This is called Being Bike. Once again, it's a grid independent system that can be deployed, but this time it's a ride sharing system. So each beam bike will actually be harnessing 12 of the haulers, and that'll be able to be deployed into campuses and universities and parks and all sorts of stuff. Once again, we're going through a process to tender in different areas around the world. We can't go into those details at the moment until they're formulated. As well as the Beam Bike, there's another version called Beam Scoot. Once again, it's a ride-sharing system that will be able to be deployed for ride-sharing purposes, but with a different vehicle. I think it's important to talk about here with each one of these B2B opportunities. They don't just happen. They take a lot of time. There's a lot of trust that happens between, obviously, us as a provider of product and the companies that we work with. But essentially, they all have one thing in common, and that is each one of the use cases or the end users have a need that needs to be fulfilled. Now, that could be a service-based need, it could be a delivery requirement, or they might need something that's bespoke. And that is the key to what we've been able to achieve. We've listened to what people's problems are, and we've actually fixed them. We don't actually sell anything to anyone, we just fix their problems, and our products are the solutions to their problems. The other thing is, when we look at the Domino's and Pizza Hut alignments, the things that are really exciting is obviously we talk about them at an Australian level, but they also have far-reaching benefits as well. So with Domino's, for example, based here in Brisbane, manages 12 countries around the world for the Domino's franchise. What we want to do, and this is part of our raise, which we'll get into more detail about our use of funds and our plans, it's about going and having a chat to the other 11 countries that we haven't had a good conversation with yet. We've been introduced, but there's samples that we need to go through, and it's the same process with the young foods as well.
Yeah, we just got to go and do a knock. We're going to go meet face to face, and once we get face to face, they can test and try the samples just like they did here initially in Australia, and they've still got to be ticked off by CEOs or management in each one of those countries.
And the other thing is, we're not trying to prove, we're not actually having to prove that our concept works. We've actually got the proof. Now it's a case of scaling. So let's look a little bit about in our product range. So we talk relatively heavily in terms of the B2B side of stuff, but we also have a retail or a B2C footprint. We also have product that's kind of aligned into both different consumer types, but they're not necessarily like a duo. We have a lot of people who ride the duos at the beach. You know, you've got a surfboard rack and stuff. They're not just a fleet vehicle only. But when it comes to the fleet alignments that we do have, we work across 3 clear platforms, which is duo, the hauler, and the V50 e-scooter. So these are the 3 product categories I spoke about before. So road is all road registered product. The duo, the city, and the Vasto are all mopeds. So in a number of states like Queensland, South Australia, Western Australia, and Northern Territory, you can ride these on car licenses. What Joe was saying before about posties was that they were using these mopeds in little regional towns where it's hard to get stuff. You can imagine having a lower licensing requirement is actually a benefit. We also have a faster version of electric road scooter, which is this Sport, which will do up to 80 kilometers per hour. When it comes to e-bikes, we have 3.
And the Duo Plus.
Oh, sorry, and the Duo Plus. So Duo is a moped, and Duo Plus will do 65 kilometers an hour. E-bikes, we have 3 different types. We have the hauler, which is our cargo bike, the bender, which is our folding bike, and the 51, which is our off-road fun machine. And then with e-scooters, we have the V50, it's a seated e-scooter, and the V10, which is our entry point into the product range, starting below $1,000. At the bottom there, you'll see a prototype called the Duo Max. We have identified opportunities for a Duo platform vehicle with additional performance. So the Duo Max, while it might look a little bit similar to the Duo that you see above, in essence is going to be a bigger bike with a longer frame, a different voltage architecture, higher performance levels for both range and also higher top speeds. We actually built this prototype here in our workshop and R&D facility here in Virginia, and we've actually gone through, and that's actually being tested in the field by a number of male contractors with really, really positive feedback. Now, when it comes to what we do in Australia, we've spoken a little bit about our products and our alignments, but let's look at what we do overseas. So currently, we have our headquarters here in Australia. We also have an Italian headquarters, as well as three other importers, one in the United Kingdom, one Slovenia, and another in Croatia. They're all the green dots. Now, the yellow dots are a whole bunch of different countries that we've had initial conversations with. We've got non-disclosure agreements in place, and they're key to the next piece of the puzzle of this raise, which is the global sample program. We know that people have interest in the product, but we need to get people to look, touch, and feel, and that is the thing that will close down our distributors. And that is the thing that will bring them on board and ensure that they are aligned with us. I can actually announce today that as of this morning at 9 o'clock, we released a press release noting that we have just appointed Torres, which is a Spanish company, to be our EU distribution partner, which we're incredibly excited about. We look forward to being able to share more information around that. But this was successful based on the idea of the global sample program, knowing the quality of the product and having the confidence to move forward and actually put their hand up to become a representative of Benzina Zero.
So I might touch on that. They've also been watching us behind the scenes to see what we've achieved. They also had their own product that didn't meet expectations. So they're very, very excited about taking, because they do deal with a lot of fleets already in those countries. And they are very excited to get their hands on the bikes, put them in field, test them, and we know that it will do the job.
When we spoke before about that, we've already proved the concept and now it's a case of scaling it out. I'll give you an example. Our UK importer and distributor have already started having a lot of those conversations with their own Domino's network. They've been able to leverage the positive feedback that we've received here in Australia, and they can go into these conversations with confidence that the product that we've offered is actually going to do, and it's going to meet the needs of those franchisees. We know that because we've already listened to franchisees here. Now, when it comes to Australia, our B2C footprint is based through a dealer network. As you can see, we've got dealers around Australia. We are looking at expanding our dealer network further, especially with a keen focus around Sydney and Melbourne being our two most populous capitals. The other thing is we do actually run a separate service network in a handful of locations just to help different B2B customers, and also if we do not have a retail footprint there at the moment. We also do some D2C when we don't have a dealer in a location.
Online, yeah.
Okay, so we have a go-to-market strategy. So we've already got the partnerships, we've already got the proof of concept here, so now it's a case of scaling. So what are we going to do? We're going to scale up our distribution team, and we've actually earmarked key people already post-raise that we'll bring on board to help us do that. We obviously want to establish new distribution partnerships like the one we just announced today. And we are looking at then allowing those distribution partners to be able to leverage our B2B sales and success so far. Now, key to this, obviously, before was the global sample program. Now, when it comes to B2Bs, we want to keep developing our Australian-based partnerships, and we want to develop those further into the international opportunities. We also want to find other B2B opportunities, and these are outside of the current, like within the current field of work, sorry, other food delivery businesses. And we've been selling to other delivery companies, even for other, more local-based pizza businesses. That's happening because they've seen and had confidence with the other things that we've done. And we also want to find new B2B opportunities that require any last mile delivery or specific collection sort of use cases. We've actually got a conversation happening with the pathology company down in South Australia where they can run around the city. Instead of using cars to get vials, they can go and pick them up on the back of a duo. Within Australia and our Australian dealer network, our plan is to scale up our dealer team and then establish more dealer partnerships and obviously grow out our retail footprint. And finally, we are looking at developing, or we're going to develop, I should say, a rental system. Now, the reason why we're going to do this is if we think about the Domino's of the world, they own their vehicles and they rent them out. But if we look at other quick service restaurants like KFC or McDonald's, whatever, they utilise Uber. Now, Uber don't buy the bikes, it's the riders. And half the time, they're actually looking at renting those vehicles or subscribing them. Now, just here alone in Brisbane, there are around 7 or 8 rental companies that are operating across e-bikes and also road vehicles. What we've actually got here is an opportunity beyond any of these other rental businesses. And the key reason why is any of these rental companies will be buying products from either a wholesaler or from a retailer at a fleet price. We are the brand. Our rental company is able to procure product at the best possible price, and that's going to be what's going to give us a keen advantage within the marketplace.
And a great return on investment. So
now, we touched a little bit on us. You'll actually receive a copy of this as well, so we're not going to go through read these slides. We'll just talk on industry testimonials. Stuart Strickland, who is the former Honda managing director of Honda MPE, he's been a great advocate of both personal mobility within cities for a long time, but he's also a great advocate of Benzina Zero. He's also been key to looking at how we can downsize people with mobility in cities and reduce congestion. He did this a lot with petrol scooters in his Honda days, but he's firmly behind the Benzina Zero team and is a massive advocate of us. And you'll also see another testimonial there from one of our key stakeholders within Domino's and key to the partnership that we have today. I think I might have lost my screen. Oh, use of funds. Sorry, I'm having a technical glitch yet again. Here we go, use of funds. Okay. So there's 5 key things that we're doing here as part of this raise. We're going to finalise the development of the Duo Max. Like we said, the vehicle has been built, or the prototype's been built here. We've done some in-field testing. We do have to do a little bit more testing, as well as finalising our bill of materials to be able to get this thing into production. It's obviously incredibly exciting, but behind that, we also have to go through a full compliancing program, which will include both the Australian and also the European compliancing, so we can get these vehicles into different countries. The global sample program, once again, using our existing relationships and also conversations happening with the new distributors, we'll be leveraging our bike samples into them to be confident to move forward and obviously take Benzina Zero into new countries. We're bringing on new skilled and experienced BDMs to help us achieve our goals. Like I said, we've actually already earmarked key people for this. 4, we're going to develop our rental business, which we said is actually going to be a pilot here in Brisbane based on targeting those last mile gig workers across e-bikes and also road vehicles. And we have some minor capital works. You'll actually see we've actually done the heavy lifting when it comes to all the work that's been done here at BZHQ. We've only got a handful of little things that we've got to finalise when it comes to just the spare parts and the rental dispatch area. Now, that is actually the last slide. I'm just gonna stop sharing here just for a moment and just talk about. Okay, I'm the bloke, so I can't do anything at a time. So here we are. So one thing that we do want to talk. I was going to share this, but you can actually find this on our website. We've had 3 really interesting pieces of information that's been shared now via on our website in the news tab. So one is, we'll go to the Being Global conversation for a minute, the Being Well. The Being Well and Being Global and obviously Benzina Zero has just been picked up by the BBC and there was a short podcast on that about the Being Well and its use case and what it can actually do. That was actually released, that information was released on Sunday. On Monday, we actually saw the RACQ come out and around e-mobility and the safety of e-scooters or the e-scooter riders, and actually make a call that all e-scooters all e-scooters should actually be replaced. The stand-up type should be replaced with seated versions of e-scooters like the V50. The V50 was actually sat on by the head of policy within the RACQ, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Michael Kane, and he was demonstrating the benefits of why seated e-scooters are clearly more advantageous than stand-up e-scooters. And obviously today, and the last and most topical one, is that we've just appointed a new partnership with Torres for e-distribution for Benzina Zero. So there's a lot of things happening, and obviously we want to keep you up to date with this. All those things have also been updated on the Birchal platform as well. So Mel, that's the end of our presentation. Obviously, we're happy to have some conversation around and answer the questions that might come through.
Thank you so much, Ben and Joe. So we're just opening up the question lines now. First question, what is the performance profile of the Duo Max in terms of top speed and range?
Yep. Okay, do you want to run through that?
Sure. Look, we've developed it to do up to 100k an hour, but we can adjust or taper that back to where we need it to be. So we've overdeveloped it, and then we can tailor make, because some countries only want to do 80k an hour, and some want to do 100. So we'll be able to adjust that easily, and we might even be able to do it on the bike as required. So from a suspension, braking, chassis, all the design work in the bike, it can do over 100 kilometres an hour.
I just also want to say that there's been a couple of questions that come through about financial information. So I'm just making all the potential investors on the call today with us aware that we're in the expression of interest phase of the campaign. So you can go online and express your interest in becoming an investor, and then you can invest in the private phase when the offer goes live on the 24th of Tuesday at midday. The offer document will be available then. So the offer document with all the financial information that you require or are interested in will be in that offer document that will be on the site when the campaign goes live in Tuesday next week. So I've got a couple of questions. What about competition, guys? Who else is out there, and are you worried? Is there anybody else that's concerning, particularly in global markets?
I think it's probably good to go back a little bit through 2021 and 2020 and 2021. There was a very rapid deployment of e-mobility products globally. Now, what we've seen is things coming back to a bit of an even keel. We've seen those sort of fly-by-nighters buzzing and disappear, and we're actually looking now at a much more mature landscape. What we do know is that there are a number of other businesses out there who do what we do, but there's very few that actually transcend across 3 product categories like we do. And the other thing that we do that's very different to everyone else is just some of the strengths that we have with our B2B alignments and the use cases that we've already proven.
Yeah. I think we'll go back to probably made a comment before. There's a lot of, if you hop on Alibaba, there's a million products you can buy. And they all look nice and shiny, and they all look like they're going to do the job. So what happened, go back to what Ben said before, go back in time, everybody just went crazy and decided to bring product out that wasn't fit for purpose. So they were buying a normal type scooter, and they were trying to bolt all these things that didn't work. And then the product failed, and then they'd end up with a big pile of scooters that didn't work. We actually developed the best product on the market, and it's proving that. We've got some franchisees that have literally gone down the road sideways, they've fallen off it, and they can hop back on it and continue riding it. The bike is all our products are so robust. Our little V50 uses a magnesium alloy chassis, typically used in the aero industry before. So the quality and the product is exceptional. So I think that's the difference. We've looked at having the best we can at a very good price, and it's not letting anybody down. Where a lot of people just go buy the cheapest thing they can buy, have no end of problems, and then it gets pinned. And that gives us the advantage.
So there is a question here, it just kind of relates to that, I guess. So you might have answered it, but it says, what do you see as IP differentiators compared to competitor models? So anything more specific there?
Look,
Yeah.
can't tell you.
No, yeah, you can answer.
Look, we developed a lot of the product, and a scooter looks like a scooter. Surely, look, if someone wants to do it, they can copy anything. It happened with BMW in China, right? I believe having a product to market with people engaging in your product with 40 years experience in automotive, and I'm talking physical, hands-on automotive, knowing what goes wrong with bikes, they're not going to know. A lot of people who aren't in the industry don't know what goes wrong. So it all looks good, looks shiny, looks great. But a lot of the hard yards that we've done, and in light of we had 20 years in the two-wheel industry, we learn a lot out of that. And in our manufacturing, when we built the product, we've fixed all the things that we knew were wrong. And, you know, we had a conversation with someone the other day, and they go, how much sort of warranty problems do you have? I went, we sold a lot of bikes, and under two handfuls with warranty issues, they didn't believe it, because they're dealing with some other big brands that they have a lot of problems with. So we do believe that we've got the product right. It's been from pure hard work and determination to get the product right. And the Duo Max is next level, and it'll be even better. So we will continue to, as we find things that need massaging, not because there's a problem, but if we can make something better, we'll automatically do it, whether it be from a safety perspective, a weight perspective, a range perspective. We continue to develop that every month. As soon as we learn something, we put it in our note. Next build, we'll try and put it into our production note. And that gives us the advantage over everybody else.
There's actually one more thing that I think is really key to this to Benzina Zero story, and that is how we actually go through and will satisfy demand. Obviously, we spoke about what we believe the market to be going forward, and obviously some of the things and the lines that we have to get there, especially around distributors. What's really key to us being successful is the capacity to turn on production. If we wanted to have these great dreams, but we couldn't actually turn the tap on properly to satisfy the demand, we won't achieve what we want to. When it comes to production on the Duo, we can make, through our manufacturing partner, 1,200 bikes per day.
Correct.
So it means that when we go through and we turn on those distributors the way we're planning on doing, it means that we can then just send container loads of Duos anywhere in the world, and we can produce at a very high scale.
Yeah. And that's what's let a lot of other competitors down, because they talk the talk, and then when they did get some sort of smallish orders, they couldn't deliver. To date, with our factories, we have had no hiccups. We've had no delays. If it was promised on a particular day, it was delivered on a particular day. As we just discussed, if something needed to be tweaked, or we wanted to change something bespoke for a particular country, because that does happen, we can do all of that. We've developed a delivery box for a UK customer. It was quite intricate, but we physically drew it up, made it, designed it, and we've got the prototype sitting downstairs here. So we can turn on a dime, and the delivery time on that took a week, from drawing it to manufacturing it to getting it from our supplier. And because we were talking some numbers, if I needed to push the button on that and get 10,000 of those boxes, it can be done relatively effectively.
So why Birchal? Why crowdsource funding? Why did you come to crowdsource funding for your capital raise rather than going to a VC, for example?
Look, honestly, we've seen so many Benzina Zero heroes. That's what we call our retail customers. And we've worked obviously with a bunch of Domino's franchisees, all these people who believe in our products, and we wanted to do something a little bit different and offer them an opportunity to be able to back us and the products that we have, because they already believe in them. And I think that's actually a really positive thing. So that's one of the key reasons why Birchal, and obviously a crowdfunding regime, is just to be able to give everyone an opportunity to be a part of our story.
And no, just to add on to that, there's been plenty of conversations we've had with all these different franchisees and different businesses, And once they realised and bought the product, they said, well, how can I be a part of this? So that's sort of where we ended up, I guess. Yeah.
That's terrific. Where is your manufacturing based? Was one question that's come through.
Let's go back to the scale conversation. All our contract manufacturing occurs in China. Now we do that for a number of reasons. We use key manufacturing partners for different product categories, but there's two reasons that we work with China. One is it's centrally located, because when we talk about Benzina Zero on the highest level, we want to be a global distributor. So we're able to have to move product at scale effectively around the globe. That happens from China because of two reasons. One, we've got the scale to produce, but also centrally located, which means all the primary shipping routes happen from there. If we want to send bikes to America, so South America, we want to go to Europe, obviously it's a centre. So that's where we want to start from.
Well, we can even get rail now from China to Europe via Poland. So we're exploring that, because if we can save some money in doing that, well, it's not even us, because the distributors end up paying for the freight anyway. But if we can assist them to save money, that's what we're about. The more profitable they are, then obviously the more product they're going to get into the marketplace, which means the more product we're going to sell.
The other thing is we are typically talking about complete units, but we've also got conversations with some distributors that are actually looking at having bikes in a partial lockdown form to be able to allow them to have some sort of industry focus when the product gets to their country, so then they can take benefit of grant opportunities, assembly benefits that the government will support. And
even looking at possibly getting some parts made locally to give it that country, well, like it'd be like made in Australia if we made a frame here, for example. Yeah.
Last thing I want to talk on about China is really, really key. And that is, you'll always hear rhetoric around China being referenced as poor quality product. It is not the case. There is really poor quality product, and there is really, really good quality product. That happens in every single country around the world. So what's really important is we have scale, we have quality, and we have centrally located manufacturing, which is what our three key strengths are.
Well, I can touch on that because I've been to a lot of Italian factories, obviously because of my background, and I have walked through a lot of Italian factories, and I've seen good product. I've seen really beautiful product, but it's been let down by manufacturing. We have not been let down once with our factories. In fact, they go over and above.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that rhetoric from many founders that China is really.
I think it's like anything. You go to
quality. Yeah.
You know, a D-grade factory, well, that's what you're going to get. So.
There's a question here about the V50 scooter. Is it road legal in all Australian states?
It's not classified as a road vehicle. Okay, it's classified. It comes into Australia as a personal mobility device. Now, the reason why it comes through there is because it's a footpath-based product. It requires no license or registration, and it adheres to the Australian guidelines for a personal mobility device. There's a whole bunch of things that create or are key to being a PMD: size, width, length, height, and the top speed. What's interesting is that we are now at an interesting point within Australia where not every state legalises the use of these scooters. So if we look at New South Wales, for example, they're in the process of finalising legislation to make personal e-scooters legal. South Australia is doing the same thing, and then we're also seeing a change in potentially a change in the rules in Western Australia, where they're increasing the weight limit of the PMD from 25 kilos to a higher level. So V50 is not a road vehicle. It comes in as a personal mobility device, and it is compliant to those rules.
So it's legal in some states, and at the moment we believe it wasn't legal in Victoria only up till.
Well, Victoria just introduced rules in October last year to allow seated e-scooters.
So it then got ticked off as well. So I believe it'll eventually be ticked off in all the states, but it's funny, you're in one country here and you've got all these different laws.
Rules and regs.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Are you looking out for other global markets? You've mentioned quite a few in your presentation, but are there any others that you're looking to address, for India, for example?
Let's just roll back to, we showed a slide before where we had a bunch of different countries we have conversations with at the moment, Hong Kong and Singapore, and there's a whole bunch of opportunities out there. We have to be disciplined though. We need to make sure that we use our time effectively and use the talent we have effectively to chase down those best opportunities. We can become a scattergun, but we're not going to do what we want. So we're better off working through those opportunities that we see as the most beneficial, both from a company perspective and a time perspective. When it comes to places like India, for example, as you can imagine, this is the world's largest democracy. It is a country that is built on two wheels. So it's obviously got huge market potential. And there are a bunch of key manufacturers that are trying to vie for that market. I'll be honest, that India is not a focus of ours.
No.
We believe there's better opportunities for our time and obviously our resources.
Well, not only that, I've sold Indian products before when they were basically Honda that was made in India, and the quality of that product was left a lot to be desired. There is a new brand in India, which I won't mention the brand itself, and they promised all these great and wonderful things, and it's been an absolute flop purely because of the quality of the product. So I think we'll just let them play by themselves for the moment. We have been approached. We've done a little bit of quick intel to see who these people are, and we've decided to just do our thing at the moment. Look, we've got, there's about, I'm guessing 15, 16 countries we've already spoken to that we just need to roll out the sample program with, who are very keen to kind of move to that next step. And their importers are already bringing other products in. So why would we go and look at other opportunities that could technically just waste our time? So.
Did you want to talk about the capital raise with Birchal, what you're hoping to raise, what you're looking to do with those funds?
Yep.
In specific terms?
Yeah, so you obviously received a copy of this webinar. Our last slide spoke about the 5 things that we're looking at doing with the funds. We're looking at raising $1.5 million, and those funds will be distributed across 5 different projects. The Duo Max, the finalisation of the Duo Max to production, scaling up our team, our B2B alignments, our rental system, and also some finalising of capital works here at BZHQ in Brisbane.
It's basically, look, to be honest, it's probably, we've already identified some key staff that Ben and I have been running 24/7. So we've got to, we've realised we can't do everything. So we've just got to put on key people to look after the more of the global stuff. I'm off to Italy on Thursday, and I've already got 10 full days booked out with meetings at our HQ in Italy from people from all around the world. You know, you can only do that so much before you run out of steam. So we've just got to find, we've already had interviews with some key people who are from the industry. It's basically next step, let's go. And then I believe we're at the sales and marketing, because that's what we've got to do, is to get people to touch, feel, grab, ride the product, and I believe we'll get orders.
Now, I know we talked before, Ben, a little bit about rewards. Did you want to talk a little bit about that you are going to be doing some rewards for your investors? And
yeah, we are looking at bringing a range of rewards through to different investment classes or different investment amounts. Those will be details. We are looking at what they are. They're just being finalised at the moment, so we won't probably go too much into that, except for the fact that we are going to have some goodies on the table there based on your capacity to be able to make your investment within Benzina Zero.
Fantastic. Well, we might wrap it up there. Thank you so much for your time, guys. That was really cool.
Can I stop for 2 secs?
Go, Joe.
We've realised, because we've had a few investors actually walk through the place, and sometimes people think that possibly we're this little shed in the middle of nowhere. And what's been really interesting from the half a dozen investors that have walked through the place, they couldn't believe what we've done, what we're doing. There's nothing like touching, feeling, grabbing, just like all these other countries want to do. So it's an open invitation for anybody that does want to actually pop in and say hello and have a coffee. Open doors. Please feel free to do so.
You might want to mention where you are.
We're in Brisbane, we're in Virginia, Brisbane.
Anybody in Brisbane? Go.
I'll be in Italy next week if anybody wants to visit there.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, as I said before, Benzina Zero is going live on their offer next week on Tuesday. That is when the offer document will be available to review for any potential investors. Get your expression of interest in so you can make the most of the private phase that will be go for 48 hours, so that you can make use of the late payment terms, etc. For that period as well. And thank you both, and good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks, man. Cheers.
Thanks.